about it.
What are we on?
We're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the episode of a Like Jesus, Not Jesus Roundtable Live Edition.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Getting my stuff ready right now. I'm trying to be a little more.
Let's see. Starting off on 20 what?
We are doing chapters 24 through 30 today. It is the story of Asa and
Abraham sends his servant.
Oh, we're starting with Abraham. Yeah,
That's
okay.
24, yeah. So, what I learned from this 24, because it's really a lot of different verses based on the same small story, and it's about Abraham's servant being sent out to find his son a wife, and he wants it from his father's house.
Yeah, sending him to his uncle's.
Yeah, so he makes him swear an oath by putting his hands under his cloak and putting it on his bare thighs. Now, I don't know why that is, but it is what it is. That's how he had to swear the oath, is on his knees in front of him with his hands on his thighs. Maybe if someone in the comments could explain that to me, because I don't know. It is what it is. So anyway, he pre-adventured all upon the land to go forth and find this wife, and he was escorted by. He took a lot of wealth from Abraham, and he took a lot of servants, and he took camels, 10 camels, and he was told to go to a well by the angels to complete this task, and that he would be guarded. And so the angels guarded him to make sure that he wasn't robbed or, anything bad happened to him or his servants. And he waited at the well until, the right woman would come down, because the well is where all the virgins would go and fill up their canteens.
Yeah, the women got the water.
Yeah. And so the I guess standard was that she would offer him water and offer his camels and his friends water.
Yeah,
that would be the standard. So all of the ones that came down, he saw a very beautiful one. Her name was Rebecca. And as she filled her water, he asked her on her way back, would she mind sharing? And I guess that leads you to believe that he had asked others, and they didn't. What was it, Rebecca?
Rebecca's is when Jacob went.
Well, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I'm so wrong.
I'm trying to find her name. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah. No, it's Rebecca.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, right there. Boom.
Boom,
boom, boom. Right there. Isaac meets Rebecca. Anyway.
I'm sorry.
Yay. Anyway, Rebecca, he said she was beautiful.
Woman,
you're wrong. Whoa, man. This is why they don't let them talk in the old days. The only men got to talk, because we use level
So Isaac
heads.
is the son. Yeah, we're past that. Isaac is the son.
That's chapter 24. You said 24.
Yeah.
That's where we're at.
Yeah.
Okay, but just sit there. Just sit there and don't talk. Just sit there and don't talk anymore. Let me finish what I'm saying. Just sit there and let me finish.
I'm reading.
Anyway, again, this is why women don't get to speak in the Old Testament. Rebecca, I guess, is so beautiful that the guy knows, the servant, which they never give his name, knows that this is the one, right? So he asks her, and she's like, oh, yes, my Lord. And, gives him water as much as he wants, gives his friends water. And then while they're drinking, she goes down and refills, takes the camels to the trough and fills up the trough until all the camels have drank. And then she asks what, house he's from. She says, and he says, would there be room for us to stay there? Now, this is where a little confusion was for me, because it sounds like when she went back to the tent, they were like, oh, yes, please bring him. This is Abraham's slave. Please bring him in, right? He's a man of God. But the camels and everybody slept in the tent, which, I've been all over the Middle East. It's not uncommon, but, it's a tent. I've been around a lot of tents. I don't know anything that are big enough to hold a camel, but it made it sound like, and maybe someone could, shed some light on that they all stayed in the tent all at the same time, all together.
Like a
So
giant tent.
yeah, it's like a circus tent. So Abraham's slave talks to the guy there in the tent, and his name is
Are you looking for?
the where he stayed in the tent. It gives his name.
Yeah. Okay. So the meeting of Isaac and Rebecca. That's when he was bringing Rebecca back
Yeah,
home.
I'm
so
up here.
the tent is before that. Whose name are you looking for?
Said he asked her who she was. She is the daughter of Bethuel. So this is Bethuel's daughter, Rebecca, who is Nahor's son, and who is
son of Milcah.
Malachi, bearing to him, and put and he gave her earrings and gold to mark her, I guess, among the other women, as the one that he had chosen for his masters. Because he told him in the beginning, Abraham said, "Hey, if you can't find her, I'm releasing you from this bond that you made by rubbing your hands on my thighs." Happened. So he did his best. He wanted to do the best for his master because, they all believed that Abraham was holy. And in the Bible, it says that he was and blessed by the Lord. So anyway, he put the gold on her. She went up. Her brother saw this gold and stuff and asked her what happened. Laban and Bethuel said, "Yeah, hey, go down and get this guy. It's Abraham's slave, and bring him up to the tents." So they did, and he bartered with them for Rebecca. Told them, "Here, take these 10 camels. Here's gold and treasure, and that she will be the mother of many nations." The promise that God made with Abraham and his seed. And so they were like, "Yes, take her, take her." And then they tried to backtrack and say, "Well, let us keep her for 10 days and then we'll send her on her way." And the slave, not being an idiot, said, "No, nay, you can miss me with that. God is outside your gate here. His two representatives, the angels, and they are here to protect me. And they said that, will you do honest business with me? If you're not, tell me, and I'll go back and tell Abraham, who, walks with God and talks to God, that you decided to try to cheat him. So what's it going to be? Going to give me the girl, like the deal, or are we going to beat feet and tell the Lord he's going to come over here really, really not happy? And while I'm gone, these two angels will probably hang out and talk to you a little bit rougher than I would." And so they're like, "Oh, no, we didn't mean any disrespect here. By all means, we don't want to, we don't want to grift the grifter. He's of our blood." So they sent her on her way. And then,
Can I say something?
yeah, sure. I mean, you've not interrupted me multiple times.
So keep in mind that Rebecca is sister to Laban. Keep that in mind. Remember that. Hi, Zach Attack.
Zachary Attackery, howdy. I feel like I'm on an OnlyFans because I'm typing while I'm talking. We were close to coming home, Zach. Close to coming to Texas. Anyway, so he goes into the meeting with, walks out with the girl, heads on the camels, and as they come into the prairie, they see Isaac. He's coming out of the fields working. And this is like how quick this happened. So she sees him. She says, "Who is this?" And he says, "That's Isaac. You're going to be your husband.
That's your man."
That's him." So she puts a veil on, dismounts the camels, and runs to him. And they immediately go to his mother's tent and knock it out, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
They get busy, get frisky. And then
he's like, "Oh, this is my wife. Let's go."
Yeah, he's like, "I'm 40. I'm tired of being an incel." And so he has all day in the field with the goats and the lambs and the nothing. What a wife. So anyway, So that began the house of Abraham being fulfilled with God saying, I'm going to let your seed be spread across the planet, and it will be counted as the dust, as the grains of dust. So meaning that they're going to be in charge of, all of the tribes of the world.
So Rebecca came into the picture before Abraham's wife died. So she was there to comfort Isaac when his mama died.
Yeah, which was a big pivotal point for Abraham.
And then Abraham got remarried and had more kids to stretch out that lineage. And I want to point out that so Abraham has a kid with the wife's slave, and then has Isaac. Sends off the slave boys because he's like, I got me a real son now. And then after his wife dies, he's married and has like 3 more kids, I believe.
But that's
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kids with Keturah, and then he sends all of them off. So he's like you have gold. I'll give you some stuff to survive, and here's a little bit of stuff. But they didn't get to be in the house with you don't get to interact with my real son Isaac. Be gone with you.
Yeah, and it's funny is if you backtrack to the 2 sons, Isaac and Ishmael. Ishmael, when he was born, said that he would be that God told him that when he was born, he would be the father, he would be unruly and be the father of a nation that was unruly and always at war. And he would always be at war himself. That's the tribe that beget Muhammad, and Isaac is the tribe that beget the Jew line, so the Jewish and I guess even the Arab line was Jewish before, because there were only Jews before. So it became, they branched off from Judaism and became Islam. So it's good to note that Ishmael's mom was Egyptian, and Isaac's mom was Jewish, because that's where he got the slave that became Ishmael's mom. So Muhammad's bloodline, which is testified in the Quran, that he's of a slave lineage. Kind of
I'm off topic, but since Zach Attack, you are with us, can you hear us all okay? And are we coming through good? Just wondering, making sure that live streams are doing good, because our internet is not the greatest. So anyways, back to it.
He's like, oh, wait, they're saying something. So anyway, so we go back, and then Abraham gets Keturah and has a bunch of different kids. And then what's funny is, and that I've learned, and I didn't know, is that like these guys, the originators, the OGs in the Bible, like when they had kids, they designated like your kid, this, like if my 2 kids, Harper and Seamus, would be like, Harper, you're going to be loved, and Seamus, you're going to be a slave to Harper. Like when wait, is that happening? No, anyway.
It feels like that's really happening.
Anyway, so they gave them, power over the other one to be slaves. So it kind of blew my mind that it's very common that like, hey, you're both my sons, you should both be princes, but you're actually, one of you is going to have to be the slave. So
sorry,
yeah, that kind of blows my mind. But so within Abraham, he designates them, like hunters. They go into the forest and they hunt. And then plainskeepers are the ones that have the goats and till the fields. Kind of like it's the exact same thing that Cain and Abel did. Exact same thing. So it runs on from the better. And so then it talks about Rebecca and Isaac having a baby. So now this is the weird one. This is the first telling really of a ginger. This is the first ginger, Zach. It's chapter 25, verse 19, and it talks about Rebecca giving birth to Esau and Jacob. Esau, and he was 40 years old. Let's see.
Yeah, Isaac was 40 when they started having babies.
And she had a difficult birth with him. And he said to her, 2 nations are in the womb. The 2 manner of people shall be separated by thy bowels, and thy one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. So he's saying the oldest one is going to serve the youngest one. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. So this is God directly talking to her. So out came, and after that came out was, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel. Esau's the first one, and Jacob is the second one. Now Jacob's got his daddy's grift. Now,
but yes, look what Zach said. Yes, you do. They do spread the sin of fire. Esau.
Esau was a cunning hunter and a man of the field, and Jacob was a plainsman and dwelt in tents. It tells about, let's see, his.
It's like, so Esau was the man, redheaded man who went
Yeah,
out
he was.
and he did the hunting.
He came out red. Yeah, it said that Esau came out red and all over like a hairy garment.
So fuzzy.
And they called him named Esau. So he was a red-headed,
Hairy.
fuzzy Viking popped out in an Islamic world. Talking about, who am I conquering? Who is it? You want some of this?
And he was the man that went out and hunted and did all the stuff, brought the food in, and
He was always determined to be, by the Lord, to be the slave of his brother. Now, not all generations, just those two, and there's a reason for it later. We'll come into.
And Jacob was always at home making the food and everything.
So
He's
Jacob,
like, I can't get my hands are smooth and clean.
So Jacob's like, oh, yeah, you have to do all the work, but yeah, you're still gonna be my slave.
Well, yeah. Isn't that the job of a slave master?
That's
making
true.
A slave do all the work.
Redheads warriors. That's true.
That's how mafia works.
So it's funny as Jacob was making food, and Esau came from the field working, and he asked him, said, "Hey, can I have some of your red pottage, the food you're making?" Right? And he said, "I'm faint, and I need this." And it's his brother, right? So like, if you came to my house, it was like, Terry, I need to eat, I need to drink, I'm dying. I would not only fix you a plate thing, but I'd make you a bed so that you could eat and drink and stay as long as you needed to get back on your feet and move out with a purpose, you know? And he said, all right, I'll do that for you, but you're going to sell me your birthright. Since you're the oldest, you get all the inheritance of my father by our law. And he said, you sell me that, I'll feed you, give you something to drink.
So it's like in it says, and Jacob saw pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. So sod is any
Food.
boiled dish or food. So he was making, like, it wasn't just like, water or anything. It was, because that's what I took when I first read it. Yeah, but when I actually looked up sod pottage, it was like an actual meal. And he's like, please, I'm hungry. I've been in the field all day.
Now, as soon as he asked me for my birthright, I'm like, nah, I'll just go over there and kill one of my goats.
Steps.
I mean, his own laziness was his downfall. But anyway, he made the deal. He said, I'm about to die, because he was hungry. And he said, here, you can have my birthright. I don't care. I don't want it. Right. And so he gave it up, and he gave him some food.
So scummy.
Yeah. But that's kind of the same grift that Jacob just did, that Isaac is the only one that didn't pull this grift, but that Abraham did. Abraham did the same kind of grift twice and got riches for it. So he kind of got it in his bloodline.
That was awful.
Yeah.
He works the system.
So Isaac, there was a famine in his land in the days of Abraham, and Isaac went to Abimelech, the king of the Philistines, in the Gerar, and he said, "Hey."
Now remember who Abimelech is the one that met Abraham, and Abraham drifted him with grifted with my wife as my sister, and he got all kinds of stuff from Abimelech. Slaves
and gold and silver and camels and goats.
All his riches off of it.
Yeah. This whole, well, she's just my wife. I mean, she's my friend, my sister. Well, I'm going to make her my wife because she's beautiful. The Lord's like, I will smoke thee. You better give him what he wants. It's like they worked it out. It's a grift. Okay, so he tells him to go down in the land with the Philistines, and he's going to make his seed multiply, Isaac's. And he said, because your dad, I made this deal with your dad about his seed multiplying. I'm going to make this deal with you. And so you need to go down there into the Philistine land, and you need to set up tents, do all the things I'm telling you to do, right? And then his wife, the Abimelech, had taken her But he realized instantly that that was his wife. That was Isaac's wife.
Yeah, because he saw Isaac and her in an alley
Yeah, talking.
making out.
And he said, "Oh, hell no, you're not doing this to me again."
Like, are you family of Abraham?
And he calls him in and says, "Why would you do this to me? Why would your family do this to me twice? Have we not been good to you? Did we attack you when you came into our kingdom? 2 times you have done this to us. Now get away from here. Leave.
Yeah,
Go
keep
away.
him out of the city.
Don't ever come back. You're not welcome here," right? And so Isaac, boogied because the Lord had seized all the wombs of the women of the Philistines. They couldn't have babies, and
Until he gave the wife back.
until he gave the wife back. And he asked the Lord, Abimelech said, "Lord, I didn't take her knowing that she was somebody's wife. I would not have done that. I learned my lesson the first time. This is the second time I've been, grifted essentially, and it's not fair." And the Lord took pity on him and said, "You know what? You're right. You're right. So go ahead and send her on her way, pay the ransom, and I'll leave your people alone." And that's what he did. He's like, "Go, take your stuff, free passage. Any man that attacks you, he'd be put to death. The word will be spread through the kingdom." So he calls in Piccolo and all of his people, and he's like, "Hey, send the word through the lands. Anybody messes with this guy or his family or his people, I'm going to kill him. As the king, I'm going to kill them all." So they all leave him, let him go, and out they go, right? So then there becomes a battle of all these wells. Well, the Philistines had filled all the wells that Abraham had dug to keep him from coming back. And so he would dig a well kind of where his father was. Well, they'd come back over and fill it in and fight for the water that came out of it. So, but they wouldn't attack Isaac because, the king said, "If you attack him, I'll kill him." But so what they did is they just filled in the wells with dirt. So it's kind of dig the well, fill it in. And so they just kept moving until they got to the place where Abraham dug his first well. And they dug it there, and the Lord said, "A well will give you fruit here. You'll get water." And they dug the well, and for sure, water came up. And he was allowed to stay in that area without the people messing with him, and to work together, kind of in a "I hate you, you hate me" kind of way. But yeah, dims being dims. I hate you because you've grifted us, you and your father, a couple of times, and brought shame on our kingdom. But you know what? You go over there, and you be Jews over there, and we'll be Philistines over here, and leave us alone. Stop messing with us, and stop using the Lord to punish us when we've done nothing to you, right? So he goes on.
I feel like God's kind of getting used here.
Yeah, he sets up his sets up his tents and starts doing his thing. Now, both the boys marry. Esau marries a woman from the Hittites named Beeri, and which was a daughter of one of the guys you hear about earlier, Elon, and
which brought shame to
Ab-
Rebecca and Isaac because it wasn't their lineage.
It wasn't their family. He wasn't interbreeding. He actually went outside of the bloodline and found
damn
love.
redhead.
Yeah, redhead's
Darn
like,
redhead.
"I'm not with this incest. I want to get somebody that's not my mommy's mommy."
I don't want to marry my cousin anymore.
Redhead setting the standard. So Isaac is getting old, and at this point, there's not much going on other than the fighting over the wells. And Isaac's getting old. He's damn near blind, and he says, "Hey, Esau, I've got to pass on my blessings to you, and I've got to give you the same kind of pact that the Lord made with me and with my father, because you're the oldest. So go into the woods, kill me the venison that I like, make it the way that I like it, and bring it back, and we'll eat together and drink together, and then I'll give you the blessing." Now, why he didn't just give him the blessing before he sent him off? I feel like a grift.
Grand meal.
Well, Rebecca, sneaky old Rebecca in the background. She heard that, and she has a favorite, and it ain't the redhead.
Esau is the favorite of Isaac, and Jacob is the favorite. He's a mama's boy. So we got a daddy's boy and a mama's boy.
And he's sneaky.
Well, and back then was
he's already stole his brother Esau's birthright.
Yeah.
Back then is like, women stayed in the house and took care of everything, and the men went out and did everything else, right?
Yeah.
So he kind of is mama's boy because that's what he did.
He stayed home
stayed
and helped mama.
In the tents. So she hears this, and she goes and gets her son and says, "Hey, the birthright thing's about to happen." And he says, "Do they have oil?" If they did, we'd be over there taking it. So, so he goes in and then she tells him, says, "Hey, you go get 2 of your softest kids, youngest kids, which are the goats, lambs, and bring them to me. And I'm gonna slaughter them properly and make good meat of them and give it to your father. And I'm gonna
You be Esau.
and you're gonna be Esau." He's like, "How can I?" And this is funny because in the Bible it actually says this. I'm smooth skinned and he's hairy. He's like, "I'm a chai boy. He's a man. Papa's gonna know."
He's gonna
right?
feel my hands and know that they're smooth and that I'm not Esau.
So what she did was, she's like, "Don't you worry about that. I got this," because she knew that her husband was blind, so she deceived him, which is a sin, right? So never talks about it, but it was. So she
Woman.
yeah, whoa man. So she puts the food together, gets it the little banquet ready, and then takes the lamb that she just killed. She wraps it on
Hands.
Jacob's hands, tells him to go in there and serve it.
And around his neck.
Yeah, and around his neck where he could feel him. Now he says, "My dad will never be fooled by this." She's like, "Don't you worry about it. I know your father, right? I got this."
He's an idiot.
Yeah. So she takes him in there, and he says, "Hey, Father, I'm here." And he's like, "Who is this that comes before me?" And he's like, "I'm Esau, your son." "I'm Esau, your son." And he's like, "You surely sound like..."
Yeah, Jacob knew. Because
He's like, "You surely
Isaac
sound
knew.
like Jacob, my son, my younger son. Where's Esau?" Then he said, "No, Father, I'm Esau from the plains." He's like, "Well, how did you get that venison
So quickly.
killed, cut, and cooked so quickly?" And he's like, "Oh, well, it was, just like right outside the tent.
God blessed me.
Yeah, it's like I didn't have to actually go to the forest, which is half a day's ride. It was like right there, and I just like shot it with a spoon, and here, just take the venison."
Venison. And how he didn't taste the difference, because
Treacherous thought.
like
Lamb kebab is good. Foot bread and lamb kebab. Squish, little onion.
but wouldn't lamb taste different than deer?
Well, but if you're that old, who knows what? Everything tastes like pudding. So anyway,
chicken. Tastes like chicken.
His taste buds were suicide. Savory meat's what they call it. So anyway, he's like, he waited. He kind of let you know that he waited on the food, and he tasted it, and he's like, "This is good." Yeah, he was but he couldn't see, so he trusted the word. So he gave the blessing. He's like, "Oh, your children will rule, and your children's children. You should be the kings." The whole thing to God, the same exact spiel. And they eat and drink, and then away he went, right? Which, to me, now, being me, he gave that blessing to Esau because he thought that was Esau. So, are they saying that the Lord is an idiot? Because it's the Lord's blessing. Because he's saying, "I'm giving it to you on behalf of the Lord," but the Lord stepped in and be like, "No, I'm going to give it to Esau because that's who you gave it to. I don't care who the person was there."
But maybe because Esau gave up his birthright,
and so God knew it was going to happen.
Yeah,
I know,
God was like, "Well, he gave it up, so I'm not going to step in."
Right, but God knew it was going to happen. But that's the point is I'm like, God should have just stepped in and been like, smacked him around.
Like, "Hey, that's not Esau."
Yeah.
But I think Isaac knew that, because he was sus. He knew it wasn't his son. He knew it wasn't. Oh, he knew it wasn't Esau. He knew it was Jacob. He's like, "I don't know." Yeah, I don't know.
Don't judge me. So anyway, he does his little thing, and as he's leaving, in comes Esau with the meat cooked the way he wanted it, and he sets it down, and he's like, "Father, I've returned with the venison." He's like, "I just gave my blessing to your brother," and he's like, "Why would you?" Starts crying. Now this ginger started crying. "Why would you give my blessing away?" He falls on his knees, holds his hands in the air. And he's like, "Because he represented himself as you." "Okay, but you don't know the difference." "Well, his hands in his neck were of your
fuzzy.
Yeah." And he's like I said, it leads you to believe that he's almost blind. So he cries and begs for. He's like, "Well, you can't bless 2 people," and so he gives him another blessing, but tells him in his blessing that he won't be the ruler; he'll be the servant to his brother. Which to me is a whole lot of no.
Yeah, and it's like,
no,
once the yoke falls off, and the yoke is like the boards that you put on that you carry heavy stuff on and everything. That's what a yoke is. But it's like, until that falls off, then that's when you'll get
You had to look that
everything.
up.
Huh?
You had to look that up.
I did. I didn't know what yoke was.
So anyway, she was carried to school by slaves with a DC. She didn't actually. She had. I grew up poor.
I was born
she was a
city
rich
girl.
kid. Anyway,
I grew
so
up
anyway, he
city
had a
girl. I
yoke,
didn't
which
know what
being
yoke
the
was.
mantle of the responsibility of the Jewish nation. And he said, eventually, the responsibility that he has put on you, you will throw off of him, and you will take your rightful place.
Yeah, so
It's
he has to
essentially-
wait until he's not a slave anymore. And like I guess until Jacob dies, then he'll get.
a year before he dies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But I would like to point out, because I also looked up what Jacob means in Hebrew, and it means deceiver.
yeah. So
Who would name their child Deceiver?
He was born a deceiver.
a family of deceivers. You didn't see Abraham's grift? Anyway,
So if I mean it, I know
rage monsters, gingers are emotion. Tastes like the foot and mouth. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people won't get these infantry jokes, Zach. They're just going to be confused. They're going to be like, what is it? What are these two talking about? These two idiots. Anyway, so they go into mourning. Impossible. Hebrew deceiver. Impossible. So yeah, I've kind of had my mind slanted a little bit against that nation now. Just seeing
because of what we're reading.
Yeah.
It's like
like I used to be like, I'm a sovereign supporter. I'm like, now I kind of
God says
support, and I'm like, well, because God says so. I'm afraid to go any further in this book. Anyway, so Jacob dies, and Esau, or no, not Jacob. Isaac dies. So Esau and Jacob are preparing their father's death, in their own ways, and they're two different parts of their encampment or whatever. And word gets back that Esau says, when I'm done mourning for my father, I'm going to come kill you for what you've done to me. So he doesn't care about God's wrath. He doesn't care about his mommy not talking to him anymore. He's like, I am going to end
It's like,
you
took
and
my
all
birthright,
bloodlines
you
that
took
you
my
have.
father's blessing. I'm done. You're dead.
To see this
Wait,
has my axe and my bow. He's just sharpening it with a stone.
Isa. So wait, hold on. Isa
Is the red
went
one.
out and married
Outside,
of the
a
family.
Hittite.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so Jacob didn't. That's probably why he's favored by his mom. And so
Well,
Jacob-
he's not married yet. Jacob isn't.
Yeah, but I don't think Jacob's gonna marry outside the family.
No, his mom. Yeah, that's what we're getting to. His mom sends him away
To find a wife.
to his cousin to find a wife,
Because
or like to her
yeah.
her brother. She sends him to Laban.
when he says, I'm going to kill you for what you've done to me,
Can't
for
be
all
able
of
to.
the wrongs you've done. I'm going to right them with an axe.
You took my birthright. I'll kill
And
you.
so his mother hears this. She's like, I want you to go to my brother's tent
To Laban.
to Laban, and I want you to stay with him for a few weeks until,
Actually, I think she said 3 days, but
just stay with him until your brother's not mad anymore. And
think 3 days
I'll
is
make you
long
two
enough to
hug
get
it
over?
out with a switch kind of thing. But I don't think stealing birthrights and stealing,
all the
blessings from the
riches.
Lord, and making me a slave is something we could just hug it out for as a brother. I
Yeah,
believe the axe is the
especially
only way.
within 3 days time. Go for 3 days, and I'll send for you. Like, I don't think it's gonna be over in 3 days.
Yeah. So she does her thing. She sends him away. Well, the worm turns because Mr. Jacob meets an even bigger Jew,
Which is
Than
his
him.
uncle Laban.
his uncle Laban, who had given away Rebecca and tried to hold her for 10 days, right, with that grift, who is Abraham's cousin. Well, now they get into some sticky situations because then Abraham, who is passed, his son is passed, and now
Not the
Jacob
grandson.
is with the same guy that feels like he kind of lost the best end of the deal. Even though he got handsomely rewarded for Rebecca, he goes in to get a wife. Well,
Yeah. Can
I
I
was
say
gonna
what-
marry my daughter.
that's right.
What do you mean?
Well, no, Laban is the brother
Oh, I was talking about Rebecca.
of Rebecca. No, he's the brother of
I
Rebecca.
was gonna marry Rebecca.
Yeah. So real quick, just a side note. So we're going into chapter 28. If you watch the chapter 28 video, because usually when we do these videos, Terry, we'll read it first to see how long it's going to take for us to do the reading, and he like stops and has his reactions and everything, and then like writes down words that he needs to look up to make sure he pronounces them correctly and all this other stuff. Well, it's like we did that with the first two, but it's like then we were like, we're in this. Let's just push through it. I'm going to go ahead and read this. Let's film it. Let's do this thing. So we didn't do a practice reading before this. So all the reactions that Terry's having, where he just stops and he's like, "Wait, what?" and he's like looking all confused. That's his actual reaction because that's his first reading of it. We were like, we're going live, and it's like, so those reactions are real. And I think from now on that we need to do reaction videos because I was laughing the whole time while I was editing. I'm just cracking up. And Terry's like, "Are you laughing at me?" I'm like, "I am," because like it's just funny. So I think that's what we're going to do from now on, unless somebody says I like it to be more professional, but I liked the reactionary videos. So I think we're not going to be practicing anymore.
I mean, it's eye-opening to hear firsthand, So anyway, so Jacob is heading to his Uncle Laban's tent, and he stops by the well that his grandfather had built. And while he's laying there sleeping, and it's not that far. I mean, it's not like he's traveled 10 days. Like it's literally a couple hours away, and he's so tired he has to sleep.
That's the Beersheba to.
And he has a.
Issa having to go half a day's ride into the woods just to kill a venison to get his riders.
Yeah. So gets cheated. So anyway, he turns around and has a dream. And in this dream, an angel visits him and shows him a letter to heaven. A letter to heaven.
An escalator going up and down.
Yeah. He describes an escalator, like the first escalator.
I think even the picture I put, it was like it looked kind of like an escalator. Let me find it real quick.
Is it the Legos?
No. All right, keep going.
Yeah. So it says, and this is 28:12.
It's a broken escalator, but it's a staircase.
Yeah, with the angels going up and down. It says, and he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and on top of it reached up into heaven. And behold, the angels of God ascending and descending on it. So they were up and down. And he said, and behold, the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Lord God of Abraham, thy father, and the God of Isaac. And the land wherefore thou liest, to thee I will give it, and to thy seed. Now, this is the same land in Beerholt that he has given to, Abraham, to his sons, and now to him. He's saying, it's all yours. And what's funny is if you look at this land that's mapped out, it's half of Syria, it's all of Israel, and it goes off into the edge of brain. I think it's Saudi. Yeah, so it is now. And it's 4 times the size it is now. So when they complain, but the West Bank is it's all Jews. That all belongs to the Hebrews, all of it. Half of Syria belongs to the Hebrews. And we've done that in a previous video. It shows you the lands.
I think it was
and he said, and thy seed shall be the dust of the earth, and thou shalt spread across the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And in thee and thy seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. So he's saying, even if you're not Jewish, all the seeds of the earth will be blessed, whether they're yours or not. So, hey, want to be a Jew to be blessed. I mean, if the book is the book, it says what it says, and I stand by it. I said what I said. So, so he come up out of his sleep, and he's like, he was afraid, and he said he was scared of the area. But he was in the house of God. So to me, it's like he was afraid because he knew that he wasn't really worthy to be there, because he was he was kind of a bad guy. Yeah, I think it's because he knew that he was not a good guy, and the only reason I think that he got to see that and be a part of that is because of the pact that was made with Abraham and then his father, because that he would that bloodline would be protected.
Yeah, for him to say, how dreadful is this place? I mean, it's like.
So you you see rich people that have kids, and their kids are so entitled because daddy has this or daddy has that, and it's kind of the same thing. It's like this kid is. I would punch this kid, and I'm not gonna lie to you. I punch old Jacob right in the chops.
But he's like he knows he's not worthy because he's just a
grifter,
golden spoon baby.
Yeah, he said, and then behold, I am with thee, and will keep thee in all places, whither thou goest, and will bring thee again into this land, and for I will not leave thee, and I will have done with that which I have spoken of to thee. And he awakened out of sleep, and he was afraid, and he said, how dreadful is this place? This is none other than but the house of God, and this is the gates of heaven. So he saw the gates of heaven, and he said it was dreadful. So you take from that what you will.
Yeah, that's what I don't. It's like, why would he say that?
I don't think he saw the gates of heaven then.
I just read what you wrote. Yes.
What do you say?
U and then DEN. And he called that name Bethel. It was a city called Luz. And he vowed a vow, saying that if God will be with me and will keep me this way, that I will go, and will give me bread to eat and remnant to put on. So he heads to the well of Haran, gets water, heads up and for the flocks, and he heads up into Laban, right? And he asks the slaves of Laban, "Hey, do you know this guy? Do you know this guy?" She's a zombie. She has no warmth in her body. It's like sticking eyes. So
they're like, yeah, my hands are cold. But real quick, it's like so at that spot, he was like, he raised a rock and put oil on it and
blessed it.
So basically, it was like, and he said, "This is the house of the Lord." So it's kind of like he built, like, made a place, even though it wasn't a tent or anything, but it was like he made the first church, and he even said that that this, like, 10% of my blessings or whatever. What does it say?
10%.
Yeah, and so it was like
the blessings the Lord gave him.
So it was like that was like the first like the first actual tithing in church. But anyways, continue.
Yeah, so it's the first time he got the grift going for 10%. Wasn't from the Lord, by the way. When people say, "Oh, the Bible says 10%," that guy said 10%.
Jacob.
The Lord has never said that I've read thus far that you should give any of your money to him. He took sacrifices.
He enjoys sacrifices.
And then, the smell of sacrifices. But
and then Jacob was
proves he's a warrior god.
Instead of a goat, I don't want to get my hands dirty. Can I just give you money?
I'll just put some oil on the rock.
I will put. How about I put a shekel? I put a shekel on the stone. My back hurts. My knees hurt. My hands hurt. I don't want to cut.
Here's some oil that I made.
That goat stinks. I'm gonna get kicked off of YouTube, aren't I? So anyway, so he went on his jerk. He meets Rachel. Kind of the same story. Real good. Yeah, that's true. That's right. Percentages. Yeah, that's true. He does this almost exact same story for Rebecca as for Rachel. It's the girl that Jacob meets to take Rachel, his wife.
See, that's why I got them confused. They're both ours.
Again, this is why women aren't allowed to speak in the Old Testament. They're often wrong and very vocal.
Rachel,
and very vocal about them being wrong.
Now, I know,
but they're not wrong because they're right and the book is wrong.
I know that the New Testament, we haven't gotten to it yet, but I'm pretty sure there's no change in rules other than the fact that you can repent.
As far as we know.
Yeah.
So
that's the point of reading it.
Yeah.
And while he had spake to them, Rachel came with her father for sheep. So anyway, he goes up to Laban. And
so sits next to a well and waits.
Yeah, and he says to Laban, said to him, "Surely thou art bone and flesh," and abode with him in the space of a month. So he wants to stay there for 30 days. And he's like, yeah, you're my nephew. This is your cousin. It won't be awkward. Surely you guys should, produce children. Welcome to New Alabama.
Yeah, so Laban,
or as we call it, Israel.
So Laban was like, yes, stay for 30 days. We'll eat, drink, we'll be married, get to know my daughter. Because immediately when Jacob saw Rachel at the well, he immediately fell in love with her. And he's like, oh, she's so beautiful. I love her. Can I have her? And so
I recommend not uploading these parts.
Huh?
I recommend not uploading these parts.
Oh, it's live. But so he was like, he's like, I love her. Can I have her? And Laban was like, well, she's my younger daughter, but yeah, why not? You love her. She's beautiful. And it's like when he looked at the older daughter, he's like, yeah, she's cute. She's fair, but the younger one's hot, so I want the younger one.
I want the 12-year-old. I don't want the 18-year-old. Stop putting the porgy-looking one that eats all of her food and give me the skinnier, hotter one that's 12.
Well, we don't know their ages.
Well, on average, the married age back then was 11 to 12. So let's keep this real, yo.
It doesn't say that.
Jesus. 40-year-old wearing a 12-year-old.
I can emphatically draw a line of correlation from point A to point B, and it would probably be linear, and it would probably be logical, and it would probably be true. So I'm going to say that she was probably around 12.
Well, in the picture,
She might be 12.
They even said they were virgins who went and got water and all that. So yeah, she probably was like 12 because
They were all married off by then.
They would send their
No, because earlier in the Bible it said that
that
when she menstruates, that she's ready for marriage. So, and not around 12 or 13. I'm just saying.
16.
just because you're a late bloomer doesn't mean
There's something wrong with this one. I'm gonna take it back to 1956 up in here. Give me some Taliban. Who's got a switch? Anybody got a flip flop or a belt? Our current government has embraced that, so I'm gonna get Talibani up in here. Okay. So anyway, he loved Rachel, and he said, "That's the one that I want." Yeah, that's true. He said he wanted the younger daughter, and so they got him drunk, right?
Well, it's like, what are you gonna give me? And there's like, I'll stay with you for 7 years, and I'll be basically a slave. I'll take care of your sheep, and just let me have your younger daughter. And he's like, okay, deal.
Well,
so 7 years, which
7 years a slave.
yeah. Jacob loved her so much that he's like, this ain't nothing. This is like a day. He was happy doing the work because he's like, in game, I'm going to get that beautiful woman.
Yeah.
Yeast over here like this.
He's just sharpening an axe. He's like,
he's just, when is he coming back?
He goes to the axe maker, the
7
blacksmith.
years, I'm still waiting.
He's like, I've whittled this axe blade down. I want another axe. And he's just watching the trail coming back. So Laban gathered up all the guys. They had a big, frat party. Got him drunk and put his daughter, Leah, the Zilpath.
Got him drunk and said, here's your reward, and it was Leah.
But he was drunk. He didn't know, right?
Yeah.
So
We just
he
goes
thought-
into the tent.
yeah. So I guess they must have been twins because I don't know how that works. But I guess he thought it was her, and
It was
he slept with her, and because he took her virginity and law, and by their rights, their laws,
the beer goggles were on.
yeah, he said,
He didn't know.
well, you slept with my oldest daughter, which is by law what you have to do, then she's your wife. And he's like, nope, the
didn't
7
want
years
this
was
one.
for
I paid for her.
the young. Yeah, the young thought, not the old thought. And
It's 12-year-old, not 40.
TikTok's everywhere exploding.
So then Laban was like, okay, well, you can have her for another 7 years. If you work for me for another 7 years, I'll give you my younger daughter. Like, but me, I was like, but the deal was for her in the first place. You should have told me in the very beginning that law was that you get the older daughter.
Why does God just watch this? And he's like,
TV, my favorite channel.
It's like, just watch people get messed over. Good times, guys. Good times.
He was like a teacher back then, helping the bad.
Yeah,
So he's got
watching it.
so then he does the 7 years and he says, all right, now I want my wife, and that's when he gets him as his wife. That's when he doesn't have a wife for the 7 years. At the end of it is when he brings in the older one's like, here it is, and he's like, no. He's like, oh, well, then our laws is that's the one you have to take before you can get the other one.
Yeah.
Not that he can't have both of them, but he only made a deal for one. So now the grifters are getting grifted.
Yeah.
He's like, well, what do I have to do to get the other one? He's like, well, you got to stay another 7 years as a slave.
Yeah.
So 14 years now this guy to get the
Now
younger
he
wife.
gets Rebecca.
Yeah.
Or
Rebecca, he's like,
Rachel.
she's not 12 anymore.
Not Rebecca, Rachel.
Rachel. See?
Yeah. So he goes through the 7 years. He tends the sheep. He increases this guy's wealth like crazy by the breeding of the sheep and all that.
He knows how to make sheep.
Yeah. And then So they in each or the one wife, the older wife can't produce children.
No.
Or no, the younger wife. One of them couldn't
Yeah, it's
produce
like
children at first.
once he got Rachel, then the baby making starts, and it's like, and he's in like, because the older, what's the older one's name?
That's Leia, isn't it?
Yeah, Leia. She's like, because Jacob has always loved Rachel from the beginning. Doesn't love Leia. It's like, I didn't want you. And so Leia's jealous, like, why don't you love me? And then
It's almost like Luke and Leia, isn't it?
doing the typical
Star Wars reference.
wife trying to keep the husband. She starts like, well, I'll have a baby and that'll keep him and that'll make him love me. And yeah, and it's like, and so she starts spitting out kids with Jacob, and because Jacob loves Rachel, God seals her womb, makes her barren. Like, no, you got to love Leia just as much, or else you're not gonna have kids with the one you love. And so Rachel can't have babies.
God's like, all right, hold on, it's getting a little uninteresting. Kind of spice things up.
Yeah, so then that like makes a like battle between the sisters because of jealousy, and it's like and Leia just keeps spitting out kids and spitting out kids. She's like, oh, surely he'll love me now. This is the fifth one. Surely he'll love me now. I keep giving him boys. And then Rachel, she's like, wait a second.
I'm the first wife.
I can't. No, Rachel's the second wife.
Oh,
But
yeah.
she can't have babies. She's like, he loves me, and I can't give him a child. I'm gonna die if I don't give you a child. Take my slave. She's doing the Abraham.
This circle is completing itself. The
thing.
snake is eating his tail.
And so she's like, take my slave, and her babies will be my babies. So you can have a baby with me through
Don't
my
trust
slave.
your Abraham.
No, Jacob.
Jacob.
And so Jacob's like, oh, third one, and he starts banging out kids with her. And it's like, and then during this time, I think
Wait,
after
hold on. Didn't Issa say that he was going to kill his entire bloodline too?
Yeah, he says like, I got you, bro.
He's like,
go
I
make
have
as
30
many as you want.
I have 30 kids. I have skills to start sharpening another blade.
He's like, I got axes, I got bows and arrows.
And so
Done sharpening one
and so
axis,
during this
gets rid of
time, it's like, I think after the
Throwing
sixth
axes.
kid, then Leia's womb seals up, and it is like, and so then she's like, oh no, my sister is not going to start having babies through her slave and try to catch up to my babies. Have my slave. And so he's having sex with 4 women at this point.
He's like,
Getting
grift
all
complete.
of them pregnant.
He's like,
getting
grift
spitting out
complete.
kids left and right.
He wants something. He's like, but the Lord says.
But then there's more. Then Rachel's womb, all of a sudden, God's like, okay, you can start having kids now. So then she starts popping out kids. Be fruitful and
don't go.
multiply.
Hope they don't get worse in Texas. Alimony everywhere. You want alimony? You get alimony.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's like, how is he feeding all these
Because alimony
kids?
in the day was like a goat.
like all that wealth that Laban's getting from the goats is now dwindling down because they're eating them all.
Do you not remember? I feel like the first Viking is going to live up to his promise of, I'm going to wipe out you and your entire bloodline.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to that yet. He hasn't made it home. So it's like, so then he's having like, seriously, I think it's like
700 children.
it's
That's
crazy.
a lot.
It's a lot of kids. And
If you look at the chart, you're like,
it's a
he took
basketball
that serious
team.
about go forth,
yeah,
be
let me
multiple, be fruitful
see.
and
Let's see,
multiply.
it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 on this, but I think there's 2 more because then Leia's womb opens back up and she, I think, has 2 more kids, one being a daughter, and that's not on this chart.
And that's
I don't
when-
see the daughter. Maybe it is.
and that's
Maybe
when Jacob's
Zebulun's
like-
the daughter. Huh?
That's when Jacob's like, I don't love you anymore.
Yeah.
You gave me a daughter.
Gave me a girl.
Disgusting.
So yeah. And so then he has all these kids and everything. He's like, all right, it's time for me to go home. I want to go home. Let me go. And and Laban's like, wait a minute, no, you've done your 7 years. You've had a lot of fun. You've had a lot of babies, but no, I don't want you to leave because you brought me all this wealth. I want you to stay. And so then there's another grift being made. It's like a Jacob's catching on. He's like, oh, you're going to try to keep me here forever. So, so he's like, okay, another deal. It's like every spotted lamb and every striped lamb.
What a time.
What?
His coin purse grew, as well as his time to be alive. Hold on, little fella. Whips out chains. Curb Your Enthusiasm starts playing. He's funny.
But,
It's true.
so then he's like, I'm every lamb that's not a normal looking lamb is mine, and you get just the white lambs.
You're not on mine, are you?
And so he's like, okay, it's a rare thing to have spotted lamb. So Laban's like, okay, we'll make that deal. And like
Grifting Jacob over here.
yeah,
The blood
Jacob,
comes back.
yeah, Jacob is catching on. He's like, it's my turn.
He's like, 14 years a slave. Wakanda forever.
So he's like, my turn.
Stepping and dancing all the way up there.
So he's like, okay, I got you.
Dancing down the stairs.
So he separates the lambs of the spotted and the non-spotted, and he starts bringing the lambs down to drink and everything. And he makes a concoction of what he's feeding them and the water that he's given, and he puts in what is it called? I have it up here.
It's called a something.
The ring streaked are the lambs, the spotted lambs. Do you have anything to say while I'm looking this up?
Bye. Yeah, so what it's essentially, you don't need all the definitions. You can watch the video. And it essentially what he did was he took the lambs that weren't spotted, right? And he took a weed that produces a paint, essentially, and that you can't just wash off. You have to really work to get it off. And he just takes, he's way ahead of Laban as they're moving the lambs. He says, I don't know why he fell for that, but he's like, let me go ahead of you and clear the way and take the lambs and get them to the basically the greenest grass and the freshest water. And he's like, yeah, I'm kind of lazy. Go ahead and do that. Well, so what he did is he just kept siphoning more and more lambs off, and he'd do 1 or 2 or 3. It doesn't say, but you can guess it wouldn't be a whole bunch because he'd get caught on to. But he would smack them with this thing and make their fur spotted, so that when the guy came to count, he's like, "Oh yeah, those I made the deal. Those are yours," even though their fur was not actually dyed. They weren't spotted lambs. He painted them. So again, the Abraham bloodline was grifting.
It also says that that's what I was trying to find, that he put it in their water to drink.
Yeah, but that doesn't change their
Yeah,
body.
change their skin.
No.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
He just made some fatter than others, and so essentially what he did is he grifted. He pulled old Grandpa's grift in a different way.
So he started like these Superman, and he was even taking the healthier ones and giving the non-healthy one, because the spotted ones were being healthier because of the stuff that he was feeding them. They were being healthier than the non-spotted, and so he was even like so
so stupid.
So he was getting, it's
So
like
he
he was
also
even
likes
getting,
weeds with special properties.
getting the non-healthy lambs. But I want to back up real quick because I forgot to mention on chapter 30, verse 14. It was like, so after Leah's popping out all these kids, her kid Reuben was out in the wheat harvest, and he found some mandrakes in the field and brought them unto his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, give me, I pray thee, of thy son's mandrakes. So she's like, I want that mandrake. Can I have some? And a mandrake is look it up, is a Mediterranean plant of the nightshade family with white or purple flowers and large yellow berries. It has a forked, fleshy root that supposedly resembles the human form and was formerly widely used in medicine and magic, allegedly shrieking when
Not
pulled
Magic
from,
the Gathering, like real voodoo black mask magic.
allegedly shrieking when pulled from the ground.
They
So
show
it's
you
like-
them in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
It's freaking evil.
Yeah. So why does Rebecca want this mandrake? But anyways, it doesn't go into detail on that. But something's
We just kind of
happening.
gloss over why she needed that.
Yeah. And so she said unto her, it is she said unto her, it is a small matter that thou hast taken my husband. This is Leah saying this. And wouldst thou take away my son's mandrakes
And
also?
Wouldn't she technically be a princess because he's a prince?
Yeah.
Would she be Princess Leia? I'm just saying.
And so Leia's like, you're taking my husband's love, which she never had in the first place. She's mad, like, you have my husband's love.
My father grifted him.
Yeah.
And you're taking it.
Yeah.
You're taking what I stole.
Yeah. And now you
Yeah.
want my son's
Boom.
mandrakes.
Hey.
And Rachel said, therefore he shall lie with thee tonight for thy son's mandrakes. So she's like, give me the mandrakes and you can have Jacob tonight. Like, so they're making deals on who's going to lay with their husbands. Take the wrapping off.
Oh, I'm just off the side.
So it's like, okay, I was supposed to because you don't.
Copyright.
So Rachel's like, I was supposed to have Jacob tonight, but you can have him tonight if I have your son's mandrakes. And so they made a deal, like who's
was
gonna.
It really mandrakes or was it his mandrakes?
so
at this point, I don't know.
So they're making deals on who gets to have sex with her husband that night. And so Leia's like, okay. So she gives her the mandrakes, and then she goes to Jacob. She's like, you're mine tonight. I paid for you with mandrakes.
He's like, all right. You know what I like about high school? All the girls get younger, and stay the same.
I keep getting older, and the girls stay the same.
There you go.
And it's like,
I feel like this is what's happening.
So because he laid with her that night, she got pregnant again, and that was the fifth son.
My God,
yeah, that was when she had her fifth son.
The Lord said, "Go forth, be fruitful and multiply."
But I mean, this
it says, and God hearkened unto Leah.
My grandmother was 1 out of 11,
and bare Jacob the fifth son.
The Irish were hardy breeders too.
So, anyways, back to the grift of the lambs and him making them spotted.
Get a TV or something.
There was no TV.
It was their TV. All porn, all day, all night, all the time.
So anyway, so then, it was like he had his ring straight, striped goats.
What are we stopping at? Which one?
We're coming to the end of it. It's the end of 30.
Yeah.
And so he was like, I got my lambs, and blah, blah, blah.
I'm rooting for Issa here. Yeah. I don't like Jacob. He's like the main character that they try to force on you that you just do not like.
Yeah. So then it's like, when the cattle were feeble, he put them not in, so he wouldn't take the feeble cattle. He was giving them to his uncle. And so the feebler were Laban's and the stronger were Jacob's. And the man increased exceedingly and had much cattle and maidservants and menservants and camels and asses. So he made him, so he's like, okay, we'll make this deal. I'm gonna, do this grift over here. I'm gonna take care of all the animals and make sure that mine are stronger than yours. And then once I have so many, I'm out. And so that's what's going on right now.
Father, anything to add?
Well, I'm just looking like eventually, oh boy catches up to him, Laban, and he throws a fit, takes all of his stuff out of his tent. Oh, is it?
Yeah, that's 31.
Oh, okay. Never mind then.
Wait, did we
that's where we're at. Is him planning his escape? Him planning to leave. He's like, He's like, all right, I'll be your slave. I'm gonna build up my crop, build up my what I have, and so that he's getting ready to leave. And he's like, the more kids I have, the more I have to stay and build up my flock. But someday I'll be able to leave if I stop having kids that I can't
afford. Billy Dawn, stop producing kids.
Stop 30 kids.
So that's where we're at.
Man, I don't understand why it's so hard to live.
Yeah, this has been a busy week, so we didn't get as many videos out, and we're trying to fix up the property and sell it. So we're trying to get back down.
I can't afford these kids on a goat salary.
That's right.
That's so true. He's like, "Oy vey, what is happening here? I came with the grift, and the grift has been used on me. Oh, you wicked Laban! Why am I wicked? I did what you would do to me. Why? But I was going to do it first." Kind of like that.
Oy vey.
And meanwhile, the rest of us are sitting back with our heels kicked up, going, "What in the world are these two yahoos fighting about?
In the meantime, Esau's
Who was
just
going to
like,
screw who the
sharpen
first?"
my axe.
Esau's like, "Oh yeah, oh I got you. Keep on
Oh,
fighting."
It's been,
Keep getting
it's
more
been,
kids.
It's
There
been
you go.
14, at least 14 years. I've been sharpening axes.
In my world, if I were Esau, I'd be like, "You know what? You were 14 years a slave. I'm gonna forget because you kind of suffered," and then bury that axe in his head anyway.
We shall see.
I'm very
That's
magic.
what I would do.
But
But I
it's
don't know
like-
what's gonna happen.
But it's like, because Esau, and like even when Jacob was leaving, they're like go and marry. Don't marry this dirt over here from
Very
this
elitist.
Canaanites. Don't marry them. Don't marry from Ishmael's bloodline. Marry from
Which what I read was
My bloodline.
Canaanites. When Cain was made to mark upon Cain, it was that his skin color changed and he was black, or he's given dark skin. That would be the way that if anyone saw him come or go, they would know it was him. So I've read that a couple of different places, and so essentially the Hebrew was saying, "Don't go sleep with anyone that has black skin." Now, yeah. So, well, I mean, Jews have always been about keeping their bloodlines pure, so which is ironic because of. Well, which is ironic because that's the same thing the Nazis said and were excoriated. We 6-1, half does the other. Not involved in that conversation. I'm just saying that for the exact same reasons that one is put down, the other is lifted up. And I find that anyone who decides to have their race and say that their race is the best and build up that race without doing detriment to others, just be left alone. I don't think that's a wrong thing. I think that's inherently in everyone. I think everyone should feel that their family, hell, even just their, like my family is better than your family. That's what makes us get a competitive edge and continue fight. Now, nowhere do I preach that my family should go out and start hi-yahing people because we think we're better. I'm saying we just think that we're better so that we keep pushing ourselves to continue to hold that level, So
Strive to be better.
I don't hate anybody else, I do, but I don't hate for unknown reasons. I don't just get up and be like, "Oh, that guy's got blue hair. I hate him because he's got blue hair." I might laugh at you behind your back. I'd do it to your face. I'm not shy, and I'm not a coward. But I'm not looking to pick a fight with them. But if one comes,
But it's like I would like when Abraham had a hate, don't do anything with my brother Ishmael. Don't continue that family line.
Yeah.
Continue the
who
family
lived?
line.
Ishmael lived in
my
the Canaanites.
Wife's family. And
Ishmael
her
lived
bloodline.
in the tents down where Egypt, where the pharaohs were, and below, which the Canaanites. So that's the path Ishmael chose. So
Yeah, and so when
that stands to reason that they would be black.
Yeah.
And not as I guess it wasn't really a punishment to make them black. It was so that people would see them. Yeah, because he killed his brother, and he didn't want people chasing him down and killing him. So he said, "I'm just going to mark you, and so that everyone would be able to see who you are." So anyway, if that's true, we'd like to know. And if it's not, there are people that spend their whole lives just studying Canaanites, so correct us if we're wrong. Tell us we're right if we're right.
but it's like so
I'm
then
holding yeah, that's best sometimes. I think we're on the same page.
so then it's like so Isaac's like, don't go to my uncle's Ishmael's bloodline, that you go to my other bloodline, the cousins. And so Jacob's like, okay. But when Esau heard that, he's like, oh, daddy doesn't like Uncle Ishmael, going to Uncle Ishmael. So he went to him and got him some wives from there while Jacob was gone. He's like, you know what, I'm going to, it's like daddy doesn't like it, mama doesn't like it. They gave my birthright away to my brother, so I'm just going to piss off the family now. I'm going over here to Uncle Ishmael.
Here's my take on the whole wives versus wife issue, right? So wives. It's not that it wouldn't be fun to have a whole bunch of different wives running around and, you know, you spend Wednesday with this one, Tuesday with that one, or whatever, right? But eventually all of their periods would sink and you would have a house full of crazy.
It's not on the list.
You would have 20 crazy people running around you, torturing you all day and all night for
Especially
7
sisters.
days.
Well, actually, technically, since
Oh
back
God,
then,
yes, if their sister's even worse.
back then you were allowed to discipline them.
Yeah, but you couldn't discipline 20 crazy people. You'd get beat up.
Yeah, they would like form
Technically, you
want girl
couldn't.
power and form a war against you.
Technically, since he walks with God, he could be like, God,
You'd be like,
Punish
no, I told you to get married. I didn't tell you to pick crazy people. You're on your own. Here's a flip flop and a whip. It's going to come into play later on. All right. We're going to close this session out. I know we say we usually do like 3 hours, but the
We didn't
material
do it
didn't
like-
cover.
yeah.
There's not a lot of people asking questions. We're going to lower it down to just when we finish, so however long that takes. We appreciate you,
What we
Mr.
said
Zach
last
Attack. It would be. I actually have a theory about that, Zach, where it connects Christianity. Well, not Christianity per se, but there's one God. And after the Tower of Babel, he appeared to everyone in their own way and their own thing. Because if you look at what the Hafmal says and what the original tenets of God and what he says, they're the same. Same thing with Chongo down in Africa. Same thing with Quetzalcoatl and things.
That's why when we're done with this, that's why we're going to be reading.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm gonna read the Hafmal. So if you've got a copy of it, send it to me. I'm gonna read it.
Yeah, we're gonna read.
This
the
is not just
Quran,
about the Bible. We're gonna read all the books of all the world's religions, and
so that we can compare them
yeah,
and see how
and
close
if people
they are.
have
Because that's our theory.
books on philosophy that that kind of deal in the religious aspect or lack thereof, we'll read those, because I think that that's the only way for people to get a grounding on if something's BS or if it's not, is to have all that information before them, not hoarded, not like, oh, you're only going to get a chapter a day from a man that wants you to put $100 each time you're there in a plate, and you be judged by big hat Christians who hold their 100 above the tray just so you can see when you have nothing but lint in your pocket. That's not what it was meant about, when you look at all the religions, yeah, right, that's right.
We'll have it posted behind us, little
right. So, but you end up with a
We'll end up with
subsect.
sticky notes and
The
strings
rich, the
everywhere.
haves, and the have-nots, and the have-nots don't get as much of an understanding because they're afraid to ask questions. Like I always had questions when I was a Catholic. I had questions when, I was a Buddhist. That's the thing. Is so like you have to be able to ask the questions, and then the person that's giving you the information has to have thick enough skin that they can not get offended by the questions and say, oh, I never thought about that. Because I can read a book, you can read a book, and then we talk about it and get two different meanings out of it. And that's the same with every book.
Yeah, so that's
and
what
so
this
we're going to
is.
do the Bible, then we're going to do the Hebrew Bible, it's called the Kismet, then we're going to do the Quran, and then we're going to do, Baptist, Zoroastrian, Taoist, Hindu. So we're going to go through all of them so that people can hear and draw their own correlations. Right, wrong, and different. You have the right to make your own decision, and that's what, in my belief, that all of this leads to.
The Black Israelites.
Oh well, and
any Bible that any
Also the Satanic
religion that we
Bible.
can get a hold
yeah,
of.
and I'm going to do
it.
the writings of Aleister Crowley. So you can have. So if you believe one of these other religions is your enemy, you'll know what they say. It won't be a guess or a Facebook meme. It'll be an actual. You read it. You know what I mean? So
yeah, we.
I've read the Black Israelites. The tribes of Judah. Yeah, I've read it. Yeah, I have.
Yeah, and
pure
it's like,
racism.
and you're saying everyone is offended. Yeah, and we know that us doing this, it's like doing the Bible. We're going to offend non-believers or other religions. Once we move on to other religions, we'll be offending Christians. We know we're going to offend people with this.
Yeah.
But all it is just it's a journey. It's a fact-finding journey. We're just reading.
Yeah, if you watch the videos, I just read them like a technical manual. I'm not trying to give you any kind of sway you. The pictures was her ideal to show you what
maps.
it's saying. Maps of locations instead of you having to imagine this imaginary
I'm showing
land.
you exactly
You
when it
see it.
gives a name. There it is on the map,
Yeah.
so you know where
A
it's
definition.
at. You know that it's in Israel, in the area that it's talking about, in the portion of northeast
That's true. Yeah, you don't
Okay.
believe man. Don't believe anything men say. Don't
Yeah.
believe anything I say. Just, if you can stay with us, stay with us. Read the books yourself, and just treat it like you're reading for a class. And you're just trying to gain knowledge. What does it say? Not what does it say through Terry Tucker's lens or through Zach's lens, but what does it say for me? Whoever that person is that's reading it is going to get a different meaning, and that's the point of it, right? So. I tell everybody, I'm a Christian, but God's never spoke to me. Christ has never spoke to me. Things have happened to me in battle that I couldn't explain. So that's what set me on this journey of discovery. And so I was an atheist for 12 years. So I just wasn't an angry atheist. I didn't hate people. It didn't make sense to me to hate people or be mad about everything. Whenever you don't believe what they believe, why would it make you mad?
Yeah.
I don't get mad at other religions like Scientology. I'm not mad at Scientologists.
Which, if we could get a hold of those, we're going to read that too.
Yes. So if any of you out there have those, I don't want to have to get on eBay and buy a bunch of them, but I will. Oh, I will. We'll hear about Gorlak, the lizard lord. I'm going to put it all out there on Front Street.
And his
But-
servant Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg.
But it's like, and
I am not human.
You're saying that you're going to get caught up. We have one friend that called us up. He said that he's an atheist, but he said that he watched it and that he was like, he just watched all of our episodes like in one day, which it was only like 3 or 4, but he just like watched them. And he's like, and he called us up. He's like, when are you putting another one out? He's like, this is amazing. I love this. Put another one out. And he's like,
once we get on the road and stuff, we'll do 1, maybe 2 a day. Cause I'm only doing 10-minute shots across the board. I don't want to, I would get bored myself if I had to listen to 30, 40, 50 minutes of anything. Right. I mean, I enjoy podcasts, but I don't watch the whole thing. And I'd be the same way. And even though it's the Bible, I'd be the same way because I'm not reading it. So we're putting them out in like 2 chapters.
Yeah,
and
trying
so
to keep
that-
it no more than a 20-minute video. I think
Well, a
this
couple of them
last
was-
one was kind of long. I think
There was one that was
17
long
minutes.
because it was so many verses in
Yeah.
that one chapter. But we try to do 2 chapters. That way you get a chance to digest it, see if it means anything to you. You might say, oh, it's just BS. I don't want to, it doesn't do anything for me.
And
I
also
got
with
you.
the pictures that I put in, I try to find some
That are
that are funny, to line
Yeah, because
it
we
up
have a
little
sense
bit.
of humor. I'm going to curse a little bit. I'm not perfect. I think there was only one perfect man. The Quran agrees he was perfect. The Bible agrees, even the Jews. And I don't listen to any of them, right? So when I want to know about Jesus, I listen to what the pagans said, the Romans. They had guys following him around, writing letters back to Rome about what they witnessed him doing. That's why he was crucified, because Rome, the empire, was scared of him. So I go by what the pagans said. They had the most honest opinions. They're like, yeah, this guy went into a camp of lepers. He healed them. Don't know how. We're doing tests on them. Went into the ocean. He did walk on the water. This happened. We saw it. And then when he brought a man back from the dead, that sent, if you look in the timeline, they sent an extra legion to Jerusalem because they were scared of him. In fact, they were trying to find a way to kill him
That's right.
without turning the Israelis against him, the Jews, because he was every day, thousands more were pilgriming across the world to get to there and to see him. And they knew if the slaves ever took up Christianity, and they were starting to, they were hearing about Christianity in Rome through the slaves, so that it would be bad for them. So, you listen to what the pagans said, because they didn't have a dog in the fight religiously, because they didn't care. They had a God that they believed was better than our God, right? So, or my God. But when you look at I'm going to do a breakdown, and that's going to a video that's going to piss people off on my beliefs on what God is and how many gods are actual God. It's going to piss a lot of Christians off. They're like, oh, Allah is not God. He's a God. Well, okay, all right. Well, he's called Allah in the Bible, so
Which means God.
yeah, the word actually means God. But anyway,
And he
I'm going to
says
go
he has
into
many
that
names.
and draw these correlations. I'm going to be like Charlie on It's Always Sunny. But
And in one of the videos, we
we
put
had
that
that-
picture. We're like trying to connect
all the kids
family
and the
line. It
lines.
was like, what?
they're just crazy, yeah.
So you're saying
But
we're gonna have
The goal is to give people the most amount of information, and then they can draw from it whatever they want. They can still choose to walk the path they're on and believe or not believe, or they can believe and then find some joy in what they read. Or they can say, you know what, I don't want to go to these mega churches and spend 10% of everything I make to make a man fly around in a jet and his poodle have $1 million doghouse, you know, and
Yeah.
its own two servants.
Yeah, with Jacob making the first tithing on the rock, you know, it's like I don't see, you know, it's like I think man has taken that and taken advantage of that and making their own self rich. The tithings aren't supposed to go to the preacher. It's supposed to go either back into the community or, you know, it's like, I mean, because God doesn't get those tithings. He doesn't get that
You
money.
can-
You know, it's like
You could join our Patreon, or you could send us money. It ain't going to no church. I'm gonna spend it. I'm gonna get a new daddy. Gonna get a new
Patreon account.
daddy. Gonna get a new Corvette or a Hummer. I ain't lying to you.
but
I'm
it's
spending that money.
yeah, and it's like, but I mean, you know, it's
I
like,
might buy a goat.
like for us, like when we sell and we get back to, we are going to do like a 10% tithing, but it's not going, you know, it's like I think
shall
that
sharpen an axe and
how
count my goats. That's it.
how God wanted it was
He's being funny.
it's like, you know, like, because again, like when you made a sacrifice on a rock, like God says, I like it, smells good, thank you. When you know Noah made the sacrifice of the animals, and it pleased God, so it's like I'm not going to say that we're going to go outside and start chopping rabbits' heads off and sitting them on a stone, but but it's like, you know, it's like I think that if you take some of your take some of your tithing and like give it back to the community, do good to man, then I think I think that's just as pleasing, and that's what we want to do once we get back to Texas and get us a house. It's like we're going to start like a small business and giving back to the community, and I think that's all that God can really ask.
God says two things: don't do dumb shit and be nice to each other. That's it. You take all the commandments and knock them down to that. Don't do dumb shit and be nice to each other. Period. Preachers can get up and wave their Bible around and dance all they want, but God says, don't do dumb shit and be nice to each other. That's it. You do those two things. If you read a Superman comic and you go around and you do nothing but good in your life, that is as important as this book that was put together to me, because you're doing what God asked you to do, which is keep his covenants, which is don't do dumb shit and be good to each other. So, you know, I'm not going to knock somebody because they say they don't read the Bible, but if they lead a life that's more Christianly than a person that reads the Bible that doesn't, then you know what? I'm going to be friends with that guy that's not the Christian that leads a good life, that does good things for people. So that's just the way that I am. And if I have to answer for that later, then so be it. I can stand there proudly and answer for that.
But as far as we're reading, it seems that you don't have to be perfect to love God.
Abraham.
Yeah, as we are seeing with all this grifting.
I'm like, I understand some of that hatred towards
certain people. But, you know, I mean, it's just like, you know, I don't know. I mean, I think that, you know, as long as you know him and you do good and you're for him.
The kebab is not Abraham's side. The kebab actually came from Mediterranean. It wasn't even Middle East. The kebab was originally, I think, Mediterranean before they were Middle East. I think the Greeks get that. But yeah, so I mean, long and the short of it is I have correlations that I think that draw just from history. You're reading the history of it. You know, the way that sacrifices were done. If you look at the way they're done in the Bible and the way that they were done by the Norsemen, they're almost identical in fashion. The amount that were supposed to be done, and yet those two people didn't meet until thousands of years later. So how is it that they had their God, who both spoke to them with lightning and thunder, gave them the same way to appease him, right? So I don't know. We're gonna find out. You know, like I said, if you've got the half mall with you, Zach, or anything, by all means, you know, provide us with one. I'll get my own, but I mean, if you've got one that you like, yeah, you can borrow them. I'll send them back to you. I will definitely read that. You know what I mean? I'm not afraid to read other religions in order to find the truth. Yeah. And I think anybody that is, well, that's a fear they got to deal with. I'm not a person that lives my life in fear. I survived. I continue to survive. There's got to be a reason for that. And maybe this is the reason that I help guide people to some kind of happiness.
Harper, you studied Odin, didn't you?
Yeah. No, I did. We know. Harper actually, I bought him a bunch of mythology books and stories
He says
that were based on it.
Read
And
up
yeah,
on how
Odin gained his knowledge. Yeah.
How did he gain his knowledge?
I believe he hung himself. From the
Yeah. He killed himself from the tree of knowledge. Yeah. And then wandered the underworld, gave up an
learn the
eye.
secrets.
Yeah. No, we know. And we're going to put that out. It's going to be known about Odin, Mars, about the pagan gods,
Yeah, it's like in any book that
the Egyptians.
that we borrow, that if anybody sends us a book and it's like that will be put as we receive them, that'll be put on top, as the next book. So it's like if Zach, if you send us a book and then somebody else sends a book, well then yours is on top of that one. But we'll read those before we read anything.
We're just doing the Abrahamic first because that's the one that I think the vast majority of the world are involved in, whether it be Islam or Christianity or Judaism. So we're doing those three first, and then their little subsidiary books, and then we're gonna move into the rest of them because I think they all correlate.
Yeah, but it'll be put on top, and it's like, and we'll get them back as soon as we're done reading it. But it's we just have the order.
Or if you want to donate them to the library, we'll take them and put them in a place of honor.
Yep.
Because I don't think God is offended by knowledge. He gave us a brain. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a brain. We wouldn't even have a head. We'd just be walking around, be autonomous little robots
We'd be
working
like
and
animals.
fixing stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. It would be like a
The
dog.
Ranger Handbook. I will read the Ranger Handbook for you, Zach. Absolutely. The religion of the Rangers. Rogers Rangers. Done. Done deal. It's gonna happen. It's in the book now.
I'll
in
type
line.
it in.
All right, so we're gonna shut it down. Give us a call. Hey, but it is a religion though, right? I mean, you think about it. I followed it religiously when I was in. It's I can't say that the lessons I learned in the Ranger Handbook didn't save my life more than once. So much so that I spread that knowledge many, many times and bought many
man's
books.
religion.
Yeah, I've spent many a payday buying books for my private. So anyway, even more so than the infantry Bible. So anyway, we love you guys. Thanks for coming to Electric Jesus, Not Jesus. Give us a call, Zach. You got our personal information.
Yeah, if you want to continue talking, we'll
you can call
Skype
us
after this or whatever.
Yeah. Anywho, we love you guys. We got shit stuff to do.
Stuff.
I'm Irish. I curse. I'm an infantryman. I don't know what you want from me. I'm not perfect. You'll never see me walking on water. In fact, just it's not going to happen. We love you guys. Electric Jesus, not Jesus. Salute.